All right, you're asking for it, so here it is. Listen to this.
I want you folks laughing at we part of this pod, kid. You understand? We in here drinking, singing, swinging, all that shit, dog. Get sweating, getting wet, and all that.
Welcome to episode 109 of Drinking Partners. I'm Jared Evans. I'm your substitute co-duo person. Across from me is Dave Bracey. Dave, say what's up to the people.
What's up, people? I am Dave Bracey. I am your other co-host for the day. Ed Bailey isn't here right now.
Shout out to Ed.
Shout out to Ed. But it is our 109th episode. He sent us a paragraph.
He sent us a Gene Kelly speech.
As the why this is the 109th episode. Ted Williams. He's the only player to bat 400 for a season. And we're the only Pittsburgh podcast consistently hitting with the guests we choose, the content that we put out, and the events that we throw. We not only step up to the plate often, but we get on base.
That sounded kind of sexual at the end.
Anytime you bring bases into it.
Or at least touching a boob every time. Touching a boob.
Hands.
Hands are happening every single time.
So that's why that's our 109th episode. Shout out to Ted Williams. Apparently, Ed Bailey really likes Ted Williams, man. I'm gonna have to have a conversation with him. There were a lot of pausables in there.
Oh yeah. He knows. He when he sent that, he knew that we were gonna fuck with him.
So yeah, Ted Williams 109. Shout out Ed Bailey.
So tell them where to find the podcast.
If you're looking for us, you can find us on epiccastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, and Google Play under Drinking Partners. And you can find us on IG, Twitter, and Facebook at PartnersPod. 109 episodes, man. We've been asking for you. 109 episodes. We're going to keep asking for you to rate and review on iTunes. Please rate and review on iTunes. It doesn't take you much time. That's how we know what we're doing well. That's how we let others know that we're doing well, and that's how we continue to do well. So please, hop on iTunes, rate and review. I was supposed to have. Do you have an iPhone, Adam?
You see,
I do.
Can you pull up a rate? So we didn't even introduce. This is very unusual. We didn't even introduce you, and I'm asking you for shit. It takes a community to raise a podcast, man.
This is the second episode, man.
This is the second. If you're listening, this is the second episode. We're kind of fucked up. You know how it is.
Yeah.
If you can go to our little and rate and reviews, because I can't do it because I don't have an iPhone or whatever. But if you could pull up a review of some sort, and just maybe pull up a random one, we'll come back to that and let us know when you find one.
Yeah.
And then we'll rate, because if you rate and review, we might read it on there.
Yeah, and while he's doing that, I'll say what I think Ed usually says. You see you guys in real life, and you say that you like it, and just now you have to just tell the internet.
There it is. Second episode. Look, you get a little smoother with it.
The whiskey jostled up some smoothness.
We had Hitchhiker on the last episode. If you're just tuning in, say you're a fan of our guest today, and you're just tuning in or whatever. We are a drinking podcast, and we do actually drink on this podcast.
Oh yeah.
And this last podcast, we do 2 in a day. And last podcast, we drank heavily with Hitchhiker Brewery. Shout out to them.
Yep.
They're opening up a new location in Sharpsburg, so look out for that. And we're a little looser, and this is what we do on the podcast. We get shit faced, and we interview interesting people and introduce them to the world and the city. So
yeah.
That's why we're in the state of inebriation.
I fucked up last time. I didn't.
So for those listening right now, my guest host is Jared Evans. appreciate him coming out or whatever. Ed isn't able to be here for various reasons, and we brought in Jared because he's part of the family Epicast. He has a podcast called Grown Up Human Comic Peoples. You can find him on episode 98, actually. And it's centered around the basis of it is comic books, and it's the basis of it is comic books the same way that the basis of this show is beer. We start off there, and then you don't know where the fuck it's going.
It spirals out of control. Quickly. So he's part of the Epicast network. He's part of the family. We're excited to have him here as a guest host. And if you're looking for him, you can find him at either grownuphumans.com or you can go to radicaltrivia.com if you like to go out during the week. In Pittsburgh, you can find if you like trivia. I do trivia shows. I have people who work for me that do trivia shows. We have a bunch of. You go to radicaltrivia.com. You can find all the shows, who hosts them there. And they're a lot of fun. We won the award for like you guys. We won. Pittsburgh Magazine said best in the Burg.
City Paper, Pittsburgh Magazine. They're giving us these. They're telling us that we're good at what we do, and we're not disagreeing with them.
I'm not gonna.
I'm not gonna.
Far be it from me.
Is that okay?
Yeah, if you say so. Yeah.
Best in the city. So
yeah. So come out and fucking have fun at. We'll get drunk together, and I'll swear at you on microphone.
What are some of the places where supports the town that you guys are in?
I personally do my shows every week. I do the Oaks Theater in Oakmont. I do OTB. I do Casey's, Ruggers, 31 out in Bridgeville, and then Smiling Moose. Those are my personal places. Like I said, there's more people who work for me too. We have a bunch. There's a lot of shows. So if you want to go see like different hosting styles, whatever, like we all have, everybody has their own style.
Flavor.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm a loud asshole. Not everyone's a loud asshole. It's fun. If you want to have a different trivia experience, if you're tired of someone sitting at a fucking table going like, okay, well the next question is this. If you want to hear someone say fuck a bunch of times while you're playing trivia, then come see Radical Trivia. That's how it works.
Oh man, if you're listening to this podcast and you're still listening to this podcast, then you'll enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's a good podcast, though. If I can share a review from somebody named Clark.
Please do. Wait, hold on. Name who?
Clark.
His name's Clark.
Clark?
Yeah.
Clark.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like an A, but there's an O on top of the A. It's
wow.
There's those weird symbols above the A.
Is he from the Netherlands?
Yeah. This is a Dutch review. I'm actually translating from the Dutch right now. These guys are hysterical. Can't listen in the car because I am a dad. But I put my earbuds in last night while I was lying in bed. I laughed so hard. It says earbuds. I think it's the Google Translate fucked up or something.
That's the same dog as Comet from Full House.
I laughed so hard that I forgot thinking about stupid nonsense and fell asleep. As good as beer, but without the hangover.
Nice.
You're right, Clark. You shouldn't drive and listen to this podcast if it makes you laugh so hard that you fell asleep. That doesn't. You have a condition, I think.
Well, I mean,
that doesn't make sense.
He said you can't listen in the car because he's a dad, which means
he doesn't want to kill his kids because he fell asleep.
Kids to listen.
No, he doesn't want his kids to fall asleep.
Because they laugh so hard.
He wants his kids to fall asleep, and he doesn't want to listen. Yeah, no, I feel you because, I have a kid, and when they're sleeping, that is awesome. Yeah. I'm not going to do anything to fuck that up.
Yeah, just put in the earbuds and, and you're off.
Yeah, you're good to go.
I thought he was saying that he didn't want to crash the car with the kids in the car.
That is a condition.
That's a condition.
Actually.
Laughing and sleeping is not normal, Clark. You need to go see a doctor.
Hey, this guy gave you like 5 stars. So
he did.
Hey, we are not making fun of him.
Shout out. But he knows the deal. He knows the motherfucking deal. You gonna get made the fuck fun of. Fuck out of here, Clark. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
That's how you know we love you.
Yeah.
Because we fuck with you.
Yeah. If we didn't love you, we wouldn't say anything.
I don't know.
No. Exactly.
We got bills to pay.
Yeah.
Hooch app. Now, if you've been listening, this Hooch app is dope, right? So if you download it and you use the promo code DRINKPOD, you can download it for $1. And you can go to your, various establishments and get a free drink every day for 30 days.
Pittsburgh has one. Pittsburgh has one location. So for $1, you get 30 free drinks within that month. And if you're in Pittsburgh, then it's called Grapperia.
Grapperia.
It's
Grapperia.
It's Grapperia.
They play the Grapperial March when you walk in. Every time you walk in, it goes. Dun, 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 dun,
No, I think you got to do it real ethnic style. Grapperia.
Grapperia.
No, but it's actually called Grapperia, and I only know that because I was at a basketball game, and I got this random string of messages from somebody who was just like, "Yo, fuck you." I'm sick of you fucking his name up.
Clerk.
And, his name is Reed Vertisoto. I hope you're listening, Reed, because this is the second time. But this is the message he gave us. Hold on.
Damn it, Day, it's Grapperia. It cracks me up every single time you screw it up.
Grapperia, Reed,
it's Grapperia, and they're as he went on to explain, it's Porto Piccolo Forno in Lawrenceville. They get grappa, which is basically distilled wine made for them by Wiggle Whiskey. Shout out to Wiggle.
I didn't realize that Wiggle made the grappa. Okay.
So it's made for them by Wiggle Whiskey, who my partner Wes had a hand in making. And he goes on to say that, and Wendell was my boy at 1947 with Wes. I don't know who Wendell is. I don't know who 1947 is, and I don't know who Wes is. So I still don't know who you are. But
now everyone knows and doesn't know who you are.
Everybody knows and doesn't know who the fuck you are, and they know that you know how to fucking pronounce Grapperia, and now I know how to pronounce Grapperia. And if you are listening right now and you want to download the Hooch app and you're trying to figure out how to fucking get these free drinks, then you now know where to fucking go. It's Grapperia. Down in Lawrenceville. It's a Porto Piccolo Forno. And just show up there every day for a month, man. You know what I mean? Like, let them know.
I did pick someone. I have not been there, but I did pick someone up from there, and they came out safely. So you can go there and not be abducted.
If you look, that is the best review you can give to a place. You will not be raped.
It took us like the whole podcast last time to start dropping ours, and then we're right at the beginning.
It's a safe space.
That's what we
It's a safe space. We're saying it's not going to happen. It's okay.
Right,
we're saying it's not going to happen.
We're
not advocates of that. We don't condone that in any way, shape, or form.
For the record, I also don't.
Thank you.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. No, we're all in agreement here. That's not a thing to do.
Yeah,
and if you want to get drunk and have that not happen to you, holla at Grappera.
That was worse than every other one. It was Grappera.
There's no syllable you left out.
Grappera. Oh, man.
We're gonna lose our money.
Why don't you take the pictures?
This is what we call a drop, and we want other people to pay for these things. They won't.
No, as long as you keep saying Grapperia, it's fine. There's no bad publicity. It's impossible.
If you're looking for the Hooch app, it's available on iTunes and Google Play. Again, it's available in Pittsburgh at Grapperia. Grapperia. And if you're not in Pittsburgh, they're also in New York, San Francisco, Hong Kong, Los Angeles, Miami, Dallas, Austin, New Jersey, Phoenix, and San Diego. So again, if you're not in Pittsburgh, if you're in any of those cities and you got $1, it's the best dollar you'll spend, man. And make sure use the promo code DrinkPod. That's how you get it for $1. Now, if you listen to the podcast, it sounds mad sultry and sweet. You know what I mean? There's none of those little bad, little clicks and, you know what I mean, the pops. And, it doesn't sound like we're in a basement because we're definitely in a motherfucking basement.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we are.
But it doesn't sound like we're in a basement. That's because of Epicast. I mean, Epicast keeps this thing going, man. If it wasn't for Epicast, there would be no Drinking Partners. And they've done so much to help the scene, the podcasting scene in Pittsburgh, and they're taking it to new heights. And if you're looking to get into podcasts, people hit us up all the time. Hey, how do I get into this? How do I, you know what I mean? And I'm
just
like,
come over. Literally.
Holla at them. Just show up.
Show up and
hang out.
You can talk and make a podcast.
You know what I mean? And they'll make it sound and look much better than what it really is.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for media, you're looking for photographers, you're looking for sound engineering, you know what I mean? Like, whatever you need, holla at Epicast. You can find them on epicastnetwork.com.
Buzzy and Nick will polish whatever turds you have.
There he is. Look at me. Oh, I was a sinker. Now I'm a floater.
Is I feel like a sinker's better than a floater. The floaters, they're a lot of fat.
But they don't get any
floater.
attention.
That's fair.
You're right.
That's true.
Those are the ones
point.
that you.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what?
That's how you gauge.
You're right.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
What's the shit? You gauge them by the floaters.
Yeah.
So you have a preferred? Because I don't have any preference.
I mean, you want to have. I feel like the best one is a. Okay, now that you've asked that question, I'm going to have to go to a dark place real fast. So there is something called the Bristol Stool Scale. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're familiar with it? Okay,
yeah. Some. Yeah. It could be friable.
Type 1 through 7. So there's 7 types. Okay,
it's like a spectrum, right?
It's exactly. Yeah. One is type 1 is hard, small pellets, I believe. Exactly. They're really dense. They sink.
They drop and then they break up and they're just.
No, they stay together. They're really dense.
They do?
Yeah, they're really like really dark, like almost.
Oh, that's
really small ones.
Yeah. It's like tightly nuggets typed together. Yeah.
Type 2, I believe, is it's a log shaped with a cracked surface. Type 3 is also log shaped but with a smooth surface. Type 4 is like a snake like one, it's much thinner.
Those are the prize winners.
Yeah.
When I drop a long, I'm like, do you see this? You want to invite people in, and
right?
Like,
exactly. You're like,
see?
look at that.
Yeah. Look what I did.
Yeah. Have you seen that?
But at nighttime only, because it's nocturnal.
Right.
It comes out to hunt.
Right.
At night. Yeah.
Was it 4? That was 4. So type 5, I believe, is small pieces with well-defined edges. Type 6 is small pieces with blurry edges. That's like mostly diarrhea. And then type 7 is, and I quote, entirely liquid.
That's a big jump.
So type 6 is like the whiskey shit.
Yeah.
There's still a little bit there.
It's just a brown cloud.
But it's bad decisions, not I need to go to the doctor. But it's not until it goes full liquid that you're like, yeah.
So you've committed the Bristol stool chart to memory.
I have.
That was absolutely impressive.
But you're a trivia master.
I am a trivia
right?
master.
And that must be the reason, right?
Oh, I've referenced that stool scale more than once during trivia. So if you're listening and you want to go to a different kind of trivia that may or may not include an entire category of poop.
Know all of the American presidents in order. Know all of the Bristol stool chart.
Yeah. Literally know your shit.
Know your shit.
Know your shit.
We have events coming up.
Okay. I have this paper in front of me. I'm like, where are we? We're in the poop section. I have it written down.
March 18th. So Ed Bailey, my regular co-host, he's not here today. He's involved in a major accident. He has an extensive recovery. With recovery come bills.
He's doing all right.
He showed up last night to the show that we did down at Comtra. It was a great show. Thank you everybody for coming out. That's a thing that we're building. We've been doing this thing for a while, and it's nice that we now have a consistent venue. We're starting to see people that are coming in and consistent crowds, and the comedy is amazing. So we did a show last night. Didn't expect Ed to make it. I saw him last week in a hospital.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just kind of taking baby steps or whatever, and he just walked the fuck in.
That's awesome.
And it was absolutely amazing. So he's definitely doing much better now. Shout out to Ed. But we have a benefit going to help out with some of his bills. He still has a long road to recovery, and what we're doing is, and that's the thing is that we don't like to ask for shit, and just be like, oh, can you? I mean, like we're artists. This is what we do. We want to work for what we do. So we're putting together. We've had such a great outpouring from the communities, and we've been able to put this together as a result of that. So the Beer Fest comedy fundraiser. It's March 18th. It's from 7 to 11 p.m. And we will have Bill Crawford doing a half-hour comedy. He's going to headline from DVE. We have the Millgroves Crossing. That's a band. They're going to be playing music throughout while you're getting shit-faced. And then we will have food by Studio AM. They will provide food. And we will have 8 breweries. We will have Full Pint, Voodoo, Hitchhiker, Rock Bottom, Steel City Beer, Green Flash, Rheingeist, and Alpine will all be in the building. Now, all of those folks are bringing copious amounts of booze, and we are only, I think, at this, the max is 100. So you have all those breweries coming in, and they're bringing enough to probably kill, 600-700 people, and there's only 100 tickets available. And I think right now we only have maybe 80 or so left online or whatever. So tickets are online. They're available at purplepass.com/BaileyFun. And they're at the door, they're $20 right now. They're at the door for $25. I don't think we're gonna have anything at the door. Also, while we're there, we'll have a silent auction, a bunch of items. We got the Improv, Tom Klingesmith from with the metal works. He's coming in, he's making some things. Baron Batch is donating some art. Dirty Art is donating some things. You guys are going to come through and donate a few things, whatever. So there's going to be a bunch of things that you can also with the silent auction. So again, that's March 18th down at the Hideout, and that's in Point Breeze, right across the street from the Co-op. Yep. So check that out. We will also be with Farm to Table. They are putting on Growing Roots for Healthy Communities. They will be at the David Lawrence Convention Center downtown, March 24th and 25th, and they will have 150 plus local food exhibitors, cooking demonstrations, expert presentations, mind-body connections. Basically, their focus is, and if you know anything about Farm to Table, and I do believe, I mean, this is off the top, but I think they were on 103, 104, episode 103, 104, but their whole thing is, healthy, sustainable a diet. So and local. Right. I mean, it's better for the environment if you get your food locally. Of course. And they also want to teach you how to be. People. There's a stigma that you have to be rich in order to eat healthy. And while there are great many barriers, that's true. To eating healthy and on a budget, you can come to this and find out how to actually do that. Yeah. I mean, and it does. It takes you. It's not intrinsic. I mean, it's not intuitive. No. You're not just gonna be like, well, I'm gonna just like things like meal planning, and what goes into and all that. Like you gotta learn.
It's like creating a wardrobe as a man. It's like, listen, you only need one pair of jeans. Yeah. And then you can like buy some cheap shirts to go around the jeans and still look pretty good. Yeah. Same with your food. Like if you know where to get your food, you get like a couple staple items, and you can just dress them up with like some spices or some other little like small items, and not spend that much money. Yeah, you can still you can eat healthy and not feel like an asshole. Yeah, and I mean, and like when you have that, a lot of like, especially with healthy eating, flavor. That's a big thing, because I mean, shit, the worst things for you are the best tasting things. Of course, yeah. So when you look at a healthy shit, it's like, I don't really want to, do not give me that finger, Mister. I haven't introduced you yet. I keep waiting. You gave me the finger. No, but we'll get you in here. All right. But fried chicken is the perfect fucking food. I mean, it is. Like, nobody doesn't like fried chicken. Nobody doesn't like fried chicken. If you don't like fried chicken, you're an asshole. Yeah, probably an asshole. Vegetarians, you're an asshole. I'm sorry. I can say that because I'm engaged to a fucking vegetarian, and every time we go out to eat, I'm like, fucking ass. Are you kidding? So
I got a Facebook message the other day that was like, hey, remember when this happened 10 years ago? And it was me and my PETA protesting sign, like KFC tortures that was me. So, but you haven't introduced me, so sorry.
We'll definitely get into that, you asshole. So you come down, you'll learn how to like actually make delicious tasting things, local things. You can actually eat healthy on a budget and also not kill the environment. And we'll be down there. We'll be doing something. We haven't figured out what we're doing, but we'll be there. And if you know we're there, there's going to be booze there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Locally produced booze is going to be there. So get down there, get shit-faced. That's March 24th, 25th. You can get tickets online at farmtotablepa.com. And if you put in the code DRINKS, 20% off all your tickets. So check that out. And then the last thing that we got going on is March 25th, we'll be down at the Brouhaha. It's in Moon. There will be 5 brewers there. Ed and myself, I believe. That might be one of the first podcasts that Ed is going to be back on or whatever. Okay. We'll be down there live. Doing what we do and getting shit faced, and that cause is to raise money for basically the Parks and Recreation in Moon Township or whatever. So if you like to take your dogs for walks, if you want to get out and have a little fun time, I mean it's hard because there's not a lot of trails. There's conservatives. What's the term? Conservancy? Is that when you're conserving things?
Conservation.
Conservation. Yeah. There you go. That's a word. It's all about
conservative.
Yeah.
The power is yours.
So come out, get shit faced, and tickets. Still haven't figured out where we're going to get tickets at. But we'll let you know online. I mean, hit us up. So
search for that.
Search for that. Yeah. Search for randomly drunken spouted things. It'll come out.
Introduce the guest so you can talk and people know who he is.
Well, I need you to get your events out.
Oh, yeah, shit.
Because you do
You're
things, right?
You're right. I do something.
Yeah.
I guess. So, also on March 25th, there's a bunch of shit going on March 25th. You just bounce around to all these events. There's a bunch of stuff. Myself and the other grown-up humans will be at Ace Hotel for the Pittsburgh Retro Gaming Convention. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can get drunk. You can play old school video games. If you get a ticket, online, you could automatically enter to win some sweet prizes. Some of the prizes are pretty crazy. There's like a new in the box Nintendo 64.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Is Contra going to be on deck?
I don't know. There's also a new in box Sega Genesis. You can get that shit like a never opened item. I remember.
How much is that shit even worth now?
I mean, it's not. I don't know. Like
it's gotta. It's gotta be like a never in the like.
It's
that.
Yeah. Well, as we all know, being of the same age range, if you can get a Nintendo 64 controller that the stick isn't fucked up on, that is worth some serious money. Because they did a bad job designing that shit.
It was, yeah.
Remember when you went
that was the introduction to the
stick, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. PlayStation was like, we have DualShock. Fuck you. 64 introduced that shit. And they didn't plan it well because you go to someone's house and you're like, we're going to play GoldenEye. Cool. I can't move. The stick's broken.
I'm stuck in this corner.
Yeah. I'm moving at a half speed. But so we'll be at the Pittsburgh Retro Gaming Convention. Come check us out. We'll be drunk and you can talk to us and we'll swear at you. That'd be cool.
Yeah, tickets online. Is that a door thing?
I think go to PittsburghRetroGaming.com. I want to say that's the website. Although I am a little drunk and I don't rightly recall.
But if you listen to this, you either go there and if that
Search
doesn't
it.
work, Google that shit.
Just Google it
or Bing it.
You'll find it. Or Bing it.
Man.
Yeah,
come on, man.
Yeah, or Alta Vista it. Or Ask Jeeves.
I've been introduced on this morning.
I'm just gonna pretend it's 1998.
This has been highly unorthodox because our guest has already been in this.
In a good way.
In a very good way.
In a good way.
So our guest today, I'm very excited to have him. I've been a fan for a couple of years now. I was introduced because he exposed me at my day job. And if you've listened to this cast,
that sounds like something.
Yeah, like if you listen to this cast, you know I don't like that. I like to keep this whole thing separate. And I was actually sitting at work. And somebody pulled up his website and was like, is this you? And I'm like, this motherfucker. This motherfucker. Like, and then I had to had to figure out who the fuck is he? Like, and then I saw it and I became a fan. And, I'm excited to have him here now. Eat That, Read This, and editor of Glass Block. Welcome to the podcast. Adam Shuck, say what up to the people.
Hello. Thanks.
Good.
Yeah, everything you said was accurate.
I don't know if that was a what up to the people. That was a hello. Say what up to the people.
What up to the people?
Yeah, what up to the people. There.
Yeah.
I got to put my own spin on things. I'm my own man. It's
This
funny.
whole podcast, you've put your spin on already.
Yes.
Hey,
This is awesome.
I like it.
thank you for having me. It's funny because I have a similar getting busted at work story related to
Yeah.
ETRT. Yeah. I don't want to cut you off, but
I need to start call my podcast like DPP, like or something like the
Busted at
ETRT.
work? That sounds like a show of its own. Busted at work. Just
Exposed.
It's usually, let's be honest, it's usually someone masturbating.
yeah. No comment on that, but
Busted at work.
You know we're all men here.
Yeah. No, they haven't figured that one out yet.
So you got exposed at work. How did that happen?
Yeah.
so Eat That Read This is an email newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
and I started it when I was working at Pitt. So I was working like an administrative job. Pay was fine. I was like, I'll go into grad school. This is a good place to be. The workload was not really heavy. It was a really great like center that I was working in, like academia stuff. But summertime on campus is really slow. There's nothing to do. So my boss was like, who's like a professor in the English department, he was like, he and his co-director were like, you know what? When you have downtime, work on whatever. I do some translations. I translate German to English. So, the co-director was a German professor, and she was like, do your translations. Like, just keep yourself occupied.
That's how you maneuver Clork.
Yeah. Just like the North Germanic. Yeah.
Right.
Clark. Yeah.
Clark, yeah.
Yeah, some
Shout out to Clark.
People think it's Clark, but it's Clark.
Yeah. You got it.
It's a common
So
mistake.
basically, I started this newsletter, which was an email, and the first issue, number 1, I sent to 30 of my friends. Kind of grew a little bit, and it kept going and going. I kept doing it, and then at some point, one of the higher ups in the college at Pitt that I worked for called me into the office, and I felt like the principal had called me to the office, and she basically like slid across the table this printout, which was like employee conduct code or whatever. And she was like, and the reason was because the Post Gazette, Kim Lyons, who was at the Post Gazette at the time, had posted some blog about the newsletter.
Shout out to Kim Lyons. They're part of the Epicast family. They just became her and I think she's Brazilian. I can't remember her name right now.
She's with Natalie
Benciviega. Yeah. Is she Brazilian? Is that a Brazilian?
I don't know. I've actually never met her in person, but I know that they've just connected on their
Brazilian
own
today.
project together.
And I'll wait until she's on the podcast. We're gonna have Kim Lyons and Natalie on there, and she can tell me she's not Brazilian, and I'll tell her she's a fucking liar.
Yeah,
but
because we've said it already, so that makes it true.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's how it is.
So she wrote this little write up on like the Pittsburgh Post Gazette blog or whatever, and they got word of it. I was outed, and they were like, obviously you were doing this at work. And I was like, yeah. And she was like,
Time-stamped.
you can't do that anymore. And I was like, okay, like you're right. So I ended up quitting to keep doing the newsletter.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And then
Good
other
for you.
projects.
Fuck
Yeah.
them.
So that was that leap
good.
of faith. Like how was
That's great.
That's what I love about like interviewing folks or whatever that are doing successful things, because
Yeah.
there's that leap of faith. Like
Yeah.
what we do is not usually a 9 to 5,
Right.
and to do that, you especially if you're sustaining yourself off of that, and in any regard or whatever, like you have to take that leap of faith. Like how was that? Like
let me state for the record, my partner, who's great, he has a full-time job. He's the breadwinner. He brings in a lot of income. My work is, ETRT is a newsletter that carries advertising, so I do make some money off of it, which I'm really appreciative of. But I wouldn't be able to survive without my partner's income. I have to be honest about that.
Yeah, no, I mean that. But you still like, and the thing is that like your
I was
partner clearly believes in what you're doing as well.
Exactly, that's
You see what I'm
important.
saying? Like, and that's still a leap of it, because
Yeah.
everybody that come to like we had Bloom Brewing, and they had wives or whatever, and like and they're like like you don't do some shit like that. Like I have a fiance or whatever. Like what I'm doing, and I'm fortunate enough that we're both artists. So we have that basic understanding of of like, that faith in, what we're doing or whatever. But even then, like, you still have to have somebody that believes in you, and you have to believe in yourself as well. Yeah. And it starts with you, because it's not like somebody's going to come to you and be like, I believe in you. You're going to do this.
Here's some money for this thing you like to do.
Yeah, like you have to do that, and then somebody buys it. Like you convince somebody to buy into that, and that's the thing. But in order to do that, you come from a place of, I've got this 9 to 5. I'm cool. Just got caught. I can either trash this, or I can be like, fuck you, and I'm going. So how
exactly?
How was that? Like, what gave you that? What made you? What was that like?
Yeah, so the newsletter is. It was a hobby, right? Like bedroom project style. It was just something I did because I wanted to do it, and then it grew and grew and grew. And I think at that point, when that confrontation in the principal's office happened, I was like, look, this is an okay job. Maybe I'll go to grad school with it. Doesn't make that much money. Also, I gotta say, working for like the bureaucracy of a university is fucking. It's awful, like forms, and it's garbage.
You're like,
right?
just what you're doing to me right now, as me calling in the office, makes me want to tell you to go fuck yourself.
No. So I have no ill will toward anyone except for the bureaucracy. But the point is, like, I was like, look, like this thing that I just started got a little write up in the Post Gazette, and like Post Gazette reporters are reading it, like newsroom staff are reading it, and I was like, I should be doing this.
You should have slid that paper back across and be like, this got in the paper, so you can just keep that.
People know me.
Yeah. All of you, what's the last time you were in the paper? Never. Fuck off.
So I quit my job, and now I, wake up and I wear pajamas all day.
Goddamn right. Fuck yeah.
But it kind of sucks, but it's great at the same time. You know what I mean? Like it sucks to not have a reason to like. You've got to take a fucking shower. You have to put on pants. You have to put on your shoes and get out the door. If you don't have that over you, it's really easy to be like, I'm gonna just wear my like lounge pants all day.
Dude, I don't work until at least like at earliest 7 o'clock in the evening, so I understand exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah, it is. It's weird because. Like I love it. I love the freedom of it. Like I love create or whatever. And like, and it's weird what work is. What I define as work now. Because when I first got into it, like social media or whatever, like tweeting, and I'd be like, I really need to tweet, and people were like, really?
People don't understand that, man.
Yeah,
Never
like I'm
post.
on social media. Like I'm connected to my phone. Like I'm on social media, and I'm like, I really got to get this out. Like and it's like, is that work?
Yeah, it is, because people are looking at it. It's
the only thing that honestly in this age, it's the only thing that allows me to do what I am able to do. Right. I can't, I can't, it's either that or I got to pay somebody to advertise some bullshit or whatever the fuck. And like like you said, like your daily routine, going from that 9 to 5 daily routine where it's very regimented, and you have like these to like I can do whatever I want. Like, like to an extent, because you still have to do something.
Well, the silly thing is, look, the 40-hour work week is arbitrary.
Ridiculous.
The only reason we have a 40-hour work week is because people 100 years ago fought for it and died for it. And it was relatively arbitrary, right? And if you really look at what the 40-hour work week means, it means half of the time that you're awake, you're at work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's bullshit. We don't need to be working 40 hours a week. And so, for me, like in my situation, my privileged situation where I had a university job, it was cool, I had benefits, whatever. But when I'm sitting there not doing anything, it's like, why am I here?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
What am I? I'm not.
Nobody's working 40 hours a week.
Nobody works 40 hours a week unless you work in a fucking like a mill or something.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's hard labor. Yeah.
Right. And even like some of those guys, I used to do some labor type jobs like back when I was like early 20s and stuff. I'm just like, even if you do that, you're not working 40 hours.
No. Yeah, when I did my shit, like I still had a few. There wasn't a 40. No, it was. I did more. In that regard than I do. At the more white collar. Type job or whatever. But even then, in 40 hours, I may have worked 25 of them bitches. We got lunch breaks. We got. We got fuck off time, and you have to have that.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to have that, because if you're literally working 40 fucking hours hard, and it's crazy because like there were times where I had like 3 or 4, 3 jobs. 2 or 3 jobs at a time. But even in those jobs, like I'm still not. Every time I'm at a job, I'm not putting in the full hours that I'm supposed to be there.
No, it's humanly impossible to be on for that much time.
You can't.
A 40-hour work week means you're sleeping, 8 hours?
Yeah.
You're working 8 hours, and then for the other 8 hours, you get to be a human.
Yeah.
You get to choose what you do.
Then when
with
you
your
bring
time.
in commutes and
Exactly,
all that, like it
Take
is
away another
Right.
3-4
and so
hours.
and there's no way that people can operate on for 8 hours.
Well, when they determined that shit, okay, that was back in the day when it was like, oh, I didn't have access to the entirety of human knowledge in my pocket all the time. Like 40-hour work with they were like, okay, well, I'm gonna wake up and I guess I'll go to work then because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
TV.
Like I need to figure out what people are doing in China.
Yeah.
That used to take a week.
Yeah.
That might have been a long time. Now, boop, 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 that's what they're doing. Like that's what when a boss hits me up. Like I had a boss and she was like, I need to know the zip code for this town. And this was an email. This was I swear to God.
It took her longer to write the email.
And I was like, she sent a mass. It wasn't to me directly. This went I'm sitting in my cubicle. I get this email and I immediately look up and I'm looking around. And I'm like, did you get this? And we're all looking like, are you fucking kidding me? Like the time it took you to get write this. And I wanted so badly to hit her with the let me Google this. And this was like, yeah,
Right.
are you fucking? But I mean, that's the thing is that it's very archaic.
Our productivity levels have gone up and up and up.
Yeah.
Our income has not.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up.
Well, it's like the first of all, let me just say there is a website called Let Me Google That for you.
Yes.
And it's just Google.
Yes.
You just
the
send
most passive aggressive website.
Oh yeah, just
in
send somebody that
existence.
link. Yep, let me Google that for you. But you don't. Working 40 hours is the most ridiculous fucking idea. I mean, really, the only reason why it was acceptable at one point was because there was nothing else to fucking do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because there were no weekends.
Right.
There were no labor laws. So,
Right.
And that's what we fought for and won.
Yeah.
And it's been maybe 100 years since we've upgraded. And maybe we should upgrade
Yeah, you worked
again.
until you died. Your lungs were black.
It's the same upgrade we need from how the DMV doesn't take cash or cards.
Yeah.
You're like, why do I need to show up with a check or a money
the
order?
technology exists,
What
so
the
let's
fuck
use
is
it.
Yeah, they're like, well, it's just too expensive to change it. Like, fuck
I was
you.
I was parking in Philly and they wanted coins. I was like, the fuck? And actually I didn't put coins in and I got a ticket and I feel like I want to fight this ticket.
You're like, well, I guess I'm just not going back to Philly then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the beauty of parking illegally in other places. It's just like you catch me if you can.
Oh, I didn't go back to DC for 6 years. I got a $100 parking ticket and I was like, yeah, I'm just not gonna come back. Sorry.
Well, and they have the red light cameras, too.
They do. I
got one of
guess.
those, too.
Yeah.
I did too. The thing about it was I got it and I actually stopped, right? I saw I was coming up on a hill and I couldn't see the light. And then when I saw it, I stopped, but I stopped just a little bit further from the line. And it caught me and I didn't know what was going on. I was like, did they just fucking take me? And then I got something in the mail and I was like, man, nigga, what the fuck? Okay.
You know they make a lot of money off that light. That one light where you can't fucking see it. They're like, this is the biggest producing light in the whole city.
But
Fuck them.
But once you do go from that
I support it. I support red light cameras. Sorry. I've gotten busted, but I still support it, for the record.
But once you get from that 9 to 5 regimen, you do get into the space where it's very self-motivating. You have to, because it's very easy to just fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's very easy because even though, you do need social media, you do need these things but it's easy to get lost in that shit. How many times do I open up I'll open up my fucking phone to do a very specific task, and then I'll have notifications on, and I'm like, oh shit, let me just check this notification, and then 2 hours later, I was like, fuck,
Well, and legitimately, these companies have teams whose task is to make you
Forget about
keep
what you're
checking
doing.
the notifications.
Yeah.
The way that they've designed notifications is they look at human psychology and they're like, what is going to trigger people to keep coming back, reward style, right?
and so it's a carrot.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
bing,
Yeah.
bing,
Yeah.
you
That
get a little
noise.
number, and you're like, I gotta check this
Oh yeah,
number.
it releases endorphins and the whole nine.
yeah.
You get addicted. You know?
Well, and that's one of the reasons why on a phone, I'm pretty sure that most phones, every notification thing has the same sound. Your text is the same sound as it's not usually an option where you can change the text notification sound to something different than, like, say, a Instagram notification or a Twitter notification?
Mine can. I can.
You
I'm
can?
too. Yeah, I can change the different tones or whatever, and know. Like even with the lights, like I know like depending upon what like light that comes up, I know which type of a notification is from different. Or whatever. Okay, it's a matter of like actually going through and doing all that. But at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter if I have a notification. The thing is that like people communicate through different mediums, right? I mean, like some people are Facebook people, some people are Twitter people, some people are email people, some people are text people, or whatever.
Some people are Pinterest people.
Those are
Really?
the
Is that
worst
still-
people. No, that's not. I don't see. I'm a guy, so I don't really understand Pinterest at all. Like,
Hey, so
I don't know
I'm a
anything
guy.
about Pinterest
I
at
use
all.
Pinterest because my partner and I renovated our house, and this maybe sounds real bougie, but like we renovated our house, and Pinterest was like a really good way to like put photos on a board.
yeah, but
it makes sense, and not.
I
to
don't
be,
hang out on there.
Not to be stereotypical, but I mean, as a gay dude, like you, of course, like I don't, not of course, but I like when I look at my style and my fashion, whatever, I take notes from like gay men, and like because you guys have this weird fucking like you're in this space of like you appreciate the art and the design of interior, whatever.
Wow, you just stereotyped.
I definitely stereotype.
All gay men.
I wish that Ed was here.
No, I was. Yeah, I'm
'cause he
taking his
was-
place.
He would have been like, "Yeah, that's why you were pink all the time."
Yeah.
I'm not.
But with this like crazy engineering, like and then it becomes this fucking thing. So Pinterest that doesn't.
Yes, I'm the gay dude who has a Pinterest account.
I eat fried chicken. So like you know what I mean. So for you, like you like, oh man, he's like, you can't come on the podcast, but yeah, I'm a gay dude that has Pinterest, but don't judge me by that.
Hold up.
I say things that could be misconstrued as intolerant.
No, that's fine.
I didn't mean that to sound that way. I'm drunk. As soon as I said that, I was like, I should
I'm
have
the
said that.
least offended person.
Okay,
I'll just
good.
say, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
I'm also like like a white dude, so I'm not I have the privilege of like
Being a white dude,
being
that's
like
true.
fine with like things and making fun of shit, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the Pinterest guy now. I don't want to be.
You're not the Pinterest guy. We're
No, you're the Pinterest. I hope you
Okay.
listened to this podcast before you came on at some point. This is what we.
Yeah,
that's
can we
what
talk
did.
about the things that I do?
Oh yeah. Yes. Well, we got caught up into this whole.
How did we get there?
I don't know.
We got to Pinterest.
Yeah, we talked about the principal's office. We talked about work. We talked about 9 to 5.
We
9
were
to
saying
5
how
from
you
the
quit the
beginning.
job and it
Social
was
media.
cool that you were like, yeah, fuck
Yeah.
this, whatever. But
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, no, it was interesting. So I am not from Pittsburgh originally. I was born in a state called Maryland.
Oh, I've heard that.
Out in the country. So I was raised out in the country with an extended family who was very conservative, like white Christian, super conservative.
So it's their fault for what's happening right now.
You mean to the world or to me? Both.
Well,
Both.
yeah,
Probably
All right,
both.
great.
I can only
Yeah,
speak to one of those, but yeah.
I think at this point you can't really separate yourself from the world.
No,
at this
there was
point.
some drama internally because like my grandparents voted for Trump. Yeah, because they're like basically white supremacists. They're like 70-something like white people who like literally I would say they were white supremacists, right? Anyway, so I got the fuck out of that situation for undergrad. So I went to school in New York, in the city, and had when you're 17 and you move to New York and you're raised in a cow town that's like super racist and like you're a gay kid and you're 17. New York was like
The coolest thing in the world.
It was the best college town, like hands down. So I graduated, lived in Brooklyn, was doing my thing, met the guy who would he's now my husband. And we were like, both living in North Brooklyn, doing the like white hipster Brooklyn thing or whatever, like, dime a dozen.
Were you
like
boho?
Brooklyn dudes.
Were you boho? I don't I still haven't.
I'm not an
figured out what
Olsen
boho-
twin.
I don't know what boho is.
Although we share the same birthday.
Like
You can Google it. We have the same birthday.
Like my fiance, she's like this gypsy. She's real kind of hippie,
No.
and then like I don't know what is boho. What does boho mean? When I think about like
just like peasant dresses and like hippie crystals and shit.
Yeah.
No, I'm not that. So we were like, New York sucks because, New York is like the capital of culture. It's the, it's a world capital of whatever. You can see any band you want. You can eat any kind of cuisine you want. You can see any art you want.
you're spoiled by him.
But if you don't have the money to do any of that shit, then it means nothing, right? So I was living in Bushwick. My work, I worked in Midtown. It was an hour commute. I don't come from money. I went to NYU, but like I was like always felt like the poorest kid at NYU. Everyone else, because I got a scholarship, right? So I was like privileged to be able to do it.
It seems to me that like everyone probably feels like that, where they're like, I'm just pretending to have money because everyone else is also pretending to have money. And
but my
poorest
classmates
kid.
literally had a lot of money. I went to NYU, and these people, like my friends, like had a lot of money, and I was the like, oh, I'm on a credit card, and my parents like don't have a lot of money, and this sucks. So I was like, New York is not, unless you're like a Saudi prince or some kind of Wall Street dude.
That was my first introduction to like anything outside of like I grew up in the hood, and like I went to Woody High, which was like it was quarter mergered, and so I went to school with senators' sons or whatever. Yeah. But like we didn't like hang out like after school and all that or whatever. So like we went to school together, but when we went home, I just was with everybody else or whatever. And when I went to college, that was the first time that I had actually been exposed to like any form of wealth. Like I saw a kid driving an Audi, and I was like, what?
Yeah. You didn't buy that.
Oh yeah, it just blew my mind. Yeah, I mean, like so I could see. I mean, like just feeling like the poor kid or whatever. Yeah, I mean, like, and I was like poor. Like you say that you come from like when you're poor and you come in that situation, it's different from like middle class poor or lower middle class poor. Like my mom grew up on a fucking farm. Yeah, I mean, like it's like you're coming from like the sticks of Maryland. Yeah, I mean, like,
but I was like my parents were like upper middle class.
Oh well, right. You could I guess
I'm not poor. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying when you go to school with people whose like parents are like LA producers and stuff like that.
Well,
it's a
yeah. Well, so anyway. Yeah. That's your bubble. I mean, it took you out of that.
And also middle class in like, say here or in Maryland or something is different than like middle class in New York because it just costs more money to do things in those places where it's like
relative.
If your lifeline is from Maryland or from Pittsburgh or whatever, and you're in New York, it's like, oh yeah, that drink's gonna be $20. What?
Like, I bought a pony pack of Budweiser at a bar in New Jersey, and like they gave me this little 6-pack for like like $15. I was like, oh shit, like and then I realized they were 7-ounce bottles. I was like, what?
Like, motherfucker, this is one glass of beer.
Yeah.
So that's why I came to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, good choice.
When did you come to Pittsburgh?
2010. My partner and I moved here 2010, so it'll be 7 years in May. And we were like, look, like New York is too much. Where do we go? Like, didn't want another big city. We did not have the means to just like move abroad, although that would have been awesome if I could have. Well, yeah. Just like fucked off to Berlin or whatever, but that wasn't in the cards. And we had degrees, we had experience and a resume. We were able to be like, okay, let's make a decision, an executive decision. New York is not working for us. Where do we go? So we were like, we want to stay East Coast-ish, where our families were. We wanted a city where there were young people doing cool shit. We wanted a place where you didn't need a car necessarily. You could like walk around. It was dense and urban.
You want to stay where all the reasonable people are.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted a place that like, the experience of being in Brooklyn and like being just another like beardo hipster dude was just like, it was like I was suckling at the teat of culture.
Yeah. And
I wanted to be able to like create things, and I wanted the space, the time, and the ability to like not just go to like seek out, whatever the coolest stuff was, and then feel like that I was productive because I went to that show.
Yeah.
That therefore I'm cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to like
I'm
do
aware
something.
Of this.
Right.
Instead of being in a room where everyone is
just
talking.
consuming it. Yeah. So Pittsburgh, was a place that for us in our context was like, it is a cheaper quality of life. We can, there's cool stuff happening. So, we came here in 2010.
What was the cool stuff happening in 2010?
We had this really, really amazing experience where do you know couch surfing?
Well, we booked tours on couch.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So I was doing some couch surfing a bit.
I mean, I've just had people surf my couch before.
Yeah, no, it's a fucking amazing. I mean, like I don't travel unless I know somebody in that city, and couch surfing allowed me to like basically supersede the fact that I need to know you. Yeah. I can just kind of like and have that same.
That's what we did. So we found this house that seemed cool. It was on the north side, like Troy Hilly kind of area. And we came here for the first time, and it was kind of magical. Like they had a bunch of bikes, and we like biked around downtown. And I had no connection to Pittsburgh. I'd never been here. Neither of us had any reason. Like it was just sort of a random dart on the map kind of thing. And we came here and we're like, this is awesome. Why doesn't the rest of the country know that Pittsburgh like has this stuff? You know, as the years have gone on and as I've become a Pittsburgher, like I realize, you know, for a lot of other people, that's not the story, right? And so I'm very aware of like, you know, I'm a dude with a degree from NYU who's able to like move to Pittsburgh and like do a thing. And I'm very appreciative of that. But, you know, for someone living in a city like New York, Pittsburgh is really attractive because it's a dense urban, you know, place where, you know, there are good schools that are turning out, you know, people who are skilled at things. I mean, there's an economy here. There's something happening here. There are a lot of problems too. But Pittsburgh charmed us. So we moved here, moved to Lawrenceville. We rented for a year and then bought a house. And we bought our house for $100,000.
Yeah, which in New York is unheard of.
Which compared to New York was crazy.
Yeah.
But compared to Lawrence, you know, people in Lawrenceville were like,
oh,
you
Larryville?
know.
Even now, that's a fucking steal.
We bought in 2011.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you get
you know when you watch action movies and there's the scene where the hero like slips through the steel door right as it closed, like the fucking like last possible second. That's what it felt like because we bought our house for $100,000 and then the next like summer like double price.
Oh yeah.
And now it's like, you know, it's crazy. There's like yoga moms and like hot stroller dads.
Jesus
like
Christ.
it's a very different Lawrenceville than it was, you know, 7 years ago.
Lawrenceville was a place that I left the city, I mean, and I came back and one of my friends was like, "You want to go to Lawrenceville?" I was like, "For
like,
what?
no.
To get shot? Nigga?
Why?
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, why?" Like that's what I knew, Lord. Like Larry, like what the fuck? Like there was a gang. Yeah, I mean, like it was like because Pittsburgh was a place where like you couldn't go to certain places and wear certain colors or wear like even braids at it. So I mean, like it was wild as fuck. And then you know, like Larryville's like, eh. So
I definitely feel like one of those people who like came to Pittsburgh, like
At the right time.
well, yes, but what I was gonna say was like, you know, I feel like, you know, I've lived here for 7 years. I could live here for decades more, and I don't know if I would ever really feel like a Pittsburgher because it's really a place where like if you have to like be born here to really be a Pittsburgher, you know what I mean? So I feel like part of this like wave of like
That's fair,
people who
but
come here and like
I mean, we were both born here, but like I think that I know a lot of people who weren't born here who moved here, who they eventually do like it doesn't take long to feel like you are from here because once you're here, there's this weird pervasive like we're all from here. Like I don't know, if you're here, you're from here. You know, one of the attractive things about the city is that because it has a blue collar background of like steel mills and stuff, that everyone's kind of like, oh yeah, no, I ain't special. Like nobody here's, you know, oh, who's that person think they are? You know,
like everybody's touchable in the city.
Yeah. Like, even like
so few degrees of separation between folks.
Right. And when you have like even people who are like famous sports athletes or whatever, like this isn't New York where there's like we do have a Sky Bar, but like it's not a real Sky Bar. It's like that's like the, you know, I wouldn't say that's the fanciest place you can go, but like there really are like the place the fanciest place you can go is still accessible to everybody who's here.
Yeah.
So like you can see like, you know, a famous sports person or somebody who's well known in the city, and like you'll just see them in a regular environment. It's like I don't have to go to like a $500 dinner to see a famous person. It's like, oh no, I was just like at Jack's. And
I used to pull the leftover Steeler bitches from Matrix or whatever. I mean, they'd have a little booth, and if they couldn't get into VIP, I'd be like, hey baby. Because the 50-cent shots, like 50-cent drinks and shit, 50-cent drinks, what? I got $5. Let's make it happen, And like I was making it happen with $5 drinks, while Steelers had VIP right across the room in the same building.
Same room,
in the same building.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But that's just an example. But that's an example of like I think that's a good representation of the city itself. It's where it's
well, that's fair. That's good to hear. You know, I definitely feel like someone who is not, you know, I've lived here a long time and I love Pittsburgh and I couldn't dream of leaving, but at the same time, you know, there's a divide between the people who are of Pittsburgh and people who have newly come in the last whatever number of years. Now that Pittsburgh is this like hot media commodity.
Yeah, I mean, I think you came in like you said. I mean, you actually came in, that's why I was asking because like I'm looking at like I'm from the city. I mean, like, but like I got out, I traveled, and then I came, like, and there was a large period of time where I just wasn't here. I was like 5-6 years. I may have come like back to the city like once a year at tops for like a period of like 5 or 6 years, and like when I left, the waterfront wasn't a thing. Yeah. It was just lows and lows. And, you know what I mean? Like when I left, and then I came back, and they're like, "Oh, the waterfront." What the fuck is a waterfront? You know what I mean? Like,
Buster's there.
Yeah, Dave and like all that, and like, and I came back, like I had to like kind of like relearn the city. But my friends that I left were doing different, like well, it depends. Some of they were kind of still doing the same shit, but like the city had completely changed. It was a completely different thing or whatever. And then like trying to reacclimate myself to it, and like having seen the world outside of Pittsburgh. And then coming back, there was this mentality of folks that like, that were from here that were just like, I'm cool not knowing what's going on past a 4-block radius. You know what I mean? Like, and having that like mentality, and like I felt like a fish out of water. Like I was like this is my home, but for me it didn't feel like home because like I wanted more for what like when I was like I don't know, we were talking about like the city was a place when you're talking about 2010. There was shit to do in the city. Like when you're like, oh, I fell in love with it. 2010, I fucking hated this city. I was on my way to fuck out. Like I came back and I was like, fuck this place. I like went out to Cali a couple times. Like, and I was shopping to get the fuck out of here in 2010. And it wasn't until I got into comedy in the art scene where I saw that like, there is a great, growth. And I guess maybe it was because in your field, there may have been like growth in 2010 where like for me, like I didn't see any of that in 2010. I was like, whatever. But now the city is like, it's fucking amazing. I love it. And like, it was kind of like a family type thing where I fell out and I was like, fuck you. And then, after a while, and then I came back and I realized why I loved it or whatever. And it changed and it grew. The city grew, I grew. And like now it's a beautiful fucking place to be and a beautiful time.
I mean, that's great though, because I feel like there definitely is a difference between people who, have never really left Pittsburgh and people who have seen some of the world and then come here, and you really get a sense of like what Pittsburgh has that's really special. Again, if you're able to like survive every day.
I have the perfect analogy for this, and it's Hobbiton from Lord of the Rings, where once you leave, you're like, oh, this world is really amazing. Like, there's a lot of different shit that I haven't seen before, like those crazy shit. But I want to go home. And like you come home and you're like, this is just right. Like, this is fine. Like you see the same fucking old guy with his sour face, and he's like, where the hell did you go? And you're like, some places. And he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna get back to work now. And you're like, okay, cool. Like that, it's comfortable. It's a very comfortable place.
The time when I feel most that I love Pittsburgh is when I'm able to travel out and then I come back, and when you like flying back into the airport or whatever and then driving home, that kind of like, you're not even aware of it. It's like a reflex and you just feel good about coming.
You come through a tunnel or something.
All right, I love Pittsburgh.
Yeah, like you come to the tunnel, you see the city and you hear like,
yeah, my toes are like all hairy.
Yeah. You're like, I'm back home.
It's crazy now that when I travel, because like when I traveled before, I was like, man, fuck, I'm doing all these new experiences. Now, like I get to have those same experiences, but I've missed Pittsburgh because, again, I go to New York and I pay $20 for a drink, and I'm like, I'm like, what?
Yeah. But like the place is really cool and everybody's really hot and everyone's really interesting. So, not to shit on Pittsburgh, but like,
no, but
it's different.
That's what it is. And that's the beauty of it. And that's what, like, I mean, like, I love traveling, and I love the new experiences, whatever, and getting out and seeing, all of that. But like you said, I mean, that home base of like, I mean, this is, there's a little outside of the cover. And I think, and to be honest, the most sweet thing about Pittsburgh is the cost of living. Yeah. We as artists are not able to do. We can't take that leap of faith in LA. That's the only reason I stayed here as a comedian. I was like, I'm like, oh, this is a thing I could do. I can go to LA and fucking struggle and fucking fight for mic time and
fucking be a fucking waiter.
And be a waiter. And like, and I went out there and everything, like, it's a beautiful place because everybody, I was talking to Baron Batch or whatever, and he was saying like, people in Cali, it's hard to succeed in Cali because because everybody is comfortable. If you are fucking failing at life, you can just go to the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, like you could go to the beach. You could be happy just having a party. And when I went out, and it was crazy because I went out to these parties and I would hang out with these folks or whatever, and everybody was doing something. There was, there were artists and there was models and there were like, and it was like, but like, what do you do for money? Like, how do you live? And they were waitresses, whatever. But they, at the same time, they still had a great time, and they were just, they didn't. It wasn't like they were pushing a culture. They weren't pushing anything because it was easier to be happy. Right. With just the environment that's out there or whatever.
When you wake up every day and it's nice outside, you're like, oh, I guess it's cool.
Yeah, I could see it if I want. If not, then I could just fucking put some sunglasses and chill on the beach. And like the thing about Pittsburgh is like when you say like, that leap of faith or whatever, going from that, you can't take that leap of faith when your fucking rent is $1,800.
Yeah,
no, just your own. And you're in a
And it's not even a question if you don't have that cushion of money to go with.
Right.
Like you can't just jump and like, unless you have couple $1,000s like packed away to do that, which I don't.
I mean,
I live paycheck to paycheck like most other Americans.
You look at the grants and the everything that's like the art community or whatever. A lot of things like Pittsburgh Comedy Festival. I mean, like that's not a thing that's possible without grant money. And like a lot of the the Heinz endowments and the whole now like we're very awash in in these grants, and it's very again with the low cost of living and the the focus on arts that allows us to do what we do in Pittsburgh. So I appreciate it for that, but at the same time, it does get to a point. I felt that like there's a ceiling. In the especially if you're say a musician or a comedian,
for sure if you're a musician.
Like because there's only but so much, and because of the cost of living, there's only but so much you can live purely off of that. You're not going to sell a $50 ticket to a show here. People aren't paying that unless you're Kevin Hart. I mean, like
or you're
and that's the thing
U2 or something. Like
exactly,
the fucking arena.
Yeah, so you can't. Like so you have to kind of like leave if you're gonna.
Or you have to be able to be content with what exists here, the life that you have. It could be great and be able to find the niche within the creative community that exists. But you're right, like, as a comedian, I'm sure you're aware of like the limitations, right? Though Pittsburgh's scene is, exciting and growing and a lot different than it was in the past. It's not New York, it's not Chicago, it's not LA. I mean, that's a whole other like level, right?
If I was in Chicago, I would definitely be eating out of a discarded pizza box. Like that would be my main source of.
Well, but they don't have pizza in Chicago. Deep dish, it's not pizza.
It's not pizza.
It's like a pies type of.
It's like a tomato.
You'd be eating beans out of a can that didn't originally have beans in it.
The tightly knit, is that the level 1 or level 2?
Oh my God.
So what?
That's a type 1.
Type 1, yeah.
Type 1.
What? So what have you? What are your observations? I love talking to journalists and because that's what you do. You.
I see myself more as a media commentator than a journal. I mean, I'm not really going out and scooping stories, right? What Eat That Read This is, which is an e-newsletter.
I was going to ask what. Exactly
yeah, so it's called Eat That Read This, and the idea is, you're sitting at your computer, it's lunchtime, or you're looking at your phone, you're taking your lunch break. It's a newsletter that drops into your inbox, and it rounds up the day's news. So you get informed. But it also has something of like a voice to it. Like it's me who's writing this, and
you're choosing that, right?
Yeah, I'm curating it. I'm choosing it, but I'm also adding commentary, and I'm kind of pushing my own agenda in it. Like totally, that's obviously what I'm doing is like I'm giving you this thing. And I have a little bit of an agenda.
But it's the same in the same line in journalism, whatever. Like, I mean, you're reading these articles, so people trust what you're putting out. Yeah. So because in this era of information and fake news and whatever, and that's the thing is that we're overloaded. There are so many sources out there where we're living the age of information, which is amazing, but at the same time, there's so much that it's hard to pick and choose. So you have to go through, you have to pick and choose. You have to at least be a student in some regard of journalism to know what is valuable, what's not, what's bullshit, and then you have to actually do that on a regular basis and then put that out to other people. So even though you might not be out there digging up stories and doing that, you still have to have the foundations of a journalist.
Yeah, I see what I'm doing as kind of framing it, and there's an editorial bent. If there's a story that I feel is missing an angle, I'll add it. Or, if there's certain wording, like one little mini crusade is like the way that traffic violence is reported in Pittsburgh. Like, a car hit a pedestrian, and it's like a driver hit a pedestrian.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't something with its own mind that did it out of like it was an act of God or what. Like a person made a choice.
Yeah, this wasn't an Uber.
To be fair, I was gonna say, to be fair, Pittsburgh's one of the only cities where that actually could happen. Like the car itself.
Wow. Touche. Speaking of fencing, but actually, I'm in favor. I'm in favor of the autonomous view. I think it's a good technology.
It's cool, yeah.
Because I trust a robot driving a car more than I trust a human.
Oh, for sure.
Driving a car.
I know way more
It's in
shitty
Pittsburgh.
drivers than I know shitty robots.
Exactly. Yeah.
Most
Some of my best
robots
friends
can
are
do their
robots.
thing. Most robots are good at doing their job.
The newsletter is really about, rounding up the day's news so that someone who, unlike me, who's like always like on the internet, like living on the internet,
Right.
someone who's like working and they're taking their break, let me get caught up with the news. And, I know that there's like an editorial slant or a bent or whatever, which I admit, and that's what I'm doing. And if they don't like it, they can unsubscribe. So, it's a project that's like, what I hope is that I'm able to inform people, but also kind of like have fun and like hang out with people in a way,
Right.
So that, that if you read the actual news article that has been edited by professional journalists and has gone through the rigors of journalistic ethics and all that, it's going to be like a air quote objective. It's going to be an objective story. We're going to hear both sides, la-di-da,
through the filter of like if it's like a conservative or liberal like thing, but as objective as it can possibly be.
Right. So yeah, you have to keep in mind like where am I reading this? You have to have this whole like media criticism thing. So I have that in my mind, and at the same time, since I moved to Pittsburgh 7 years ago, and I worked in a bunch of different jobs. I worked at CMU for a bit. I worked at Pitt. I worked in a small business in Lawrenceville, like as a general manager. And then I worked on city council for a couple of years, and I worked in government.
Okay.
And my partner worked in government on city council and in the mayor's office. So I was able to kind of glean all of these experiences, like from like the business world or from the academic world on campus, and then from city council and city hall. And I kind of got this sense that like, I knew what was happening, like especially politically. I would read the article that would come out in the Trib or the Post Gazette the next day, and I would be like, oh, they didn't really get the big thing that happened at the city council table.
That's not the thing that happened.
Right. Like it's like the journalism that came out of it.
That
which
happened, yeah.
I respect for, but it's like, as a person who doesn't need to run things by an editor,
Right.
because I'm just a dude.
You're like, well, what had happened was
Exactly, right. So that's where it came out of was, look, let me tell you what really happened.
Yeah,
Knowing what I know. As the years have gone on, it's more of just kind of like a roundup, get people caught up, remind people that there's a whole political project that is dangerous, don't support the Republicans, stuff like that, right? But all in all, it's about informing my friends, and then a bunch of other people who've signed up also.
So it's not, as I initially assumed, a food blog.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. The brand is not so great, I will say, in retrospect. But the idea is, you're eating that, read this while you're eating that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Watch.
So, ETRT.
Well,
And honestly, until you just said that right now, like I just thought it was like, because Pittsburgh became a foodie town.
I know it's a bad brand.
see, I'm the guest host, so like the real host texted me what it was like 5 minutes before I got here, and I was like, oh, cool, all right. And there are actually a couple, because it's a play on eat this not that, right?
I mean, it's not. To be honest, it's not.
Oh,
really
really?
planning.
Okay.
It's just kind of a bunch of words I put together.
Oh, okay. I thought it was because I thought it was a play on that, because there are a couple similarly titled like various like blogs or things like that, and I was looking, I was like, Dave, what's the actual title of the thing that we're talking about?
It's confusing.
Yeah. I'm not criticizing. I'm just
No,
saying,
it's fine.
Like I was.
I admit it's confusing, but like it has a pretty good reach. Like I'm so
yeah,
proud of it.
Oh,
right?
oh no, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
It's great. What are you? So what's the future? Like, what's your? Yeah, I mean,
there's some conversations like happening about it. You know, I'm going to keep doing it. My dream would be to kind of graduate a little bit and to kind of make it a little more of like a big boy project, and to like, you know, it's been, like I said, I wake up and I put on my pajamas and then I'm like at home and like I'm writing a thing. I have a lot of opinions and I have a lot of opinions about journalism, and I'm really interested in trying to be in a place where, you know, I take in the practice and the ethics of like modern American journalism, but be able to maybe push it in a way, or kind of re-envision it, or see like,
when you say like the ethics of modern journalism, because the ethics of modern journalism are vastly different from like, you know, like
you're not getting a
I went
good
to
night
school
and
for
good luck.
Yeah, I went to school for journalism. I mean, and you look, you know, and it's about being first as opposed to right. I mean, and you.
Well, there are alternative facts now. So
yeah, I mean, like, and because of the landscape or whatever, like, you know, modern, you know, like ethics in journalism, or like, I don't even know if there are at this point.
I mean, you know, there are institutions that have, you know, the cachet and have the reputation, and people trust journalism, blah, blah. And I'm not even talking about like the whole Trump era. I mean, that's a whole additional thing.
I mean, the Trump is able to come about because of the faulty like ethics.
He's skating around journalism. He
actually journalism empowered him. And that's the thing,
he knew
is that
how to
like
use it to his purpose.
Yeah, I mean, and that's because journalism had gotten to so much of a fucking like a skank rag type thing, like an Inquirer. Like, it's honestly, some of these articles that came out were no different from the Inquirer or whatever. It's so hard to like understand what really is, you know, that versus this. And even with the you know, the more time honored, respected, you know, rags of your Post and your Times and the whole nine or whatever, like even they fell like a little bit into the normalization, and not the like, you know, it got to a point with the establishment, and that's what I love about Trump right now. It got to a point with like the media and the establishment where they kind of buddy, and it was like, if I said it, then that's what it happened. I mean, that's what it was.
I mean, the Washington Post is owned by Bezos, right? It's owned by a capitalist. I mean, the Washington Post, in a famous example, in what was it, like one day they published 27 articles that attacked Bernie Sanders, right? And so we live in a society in which journalism, it's the fourth estate. It's a pillar of our democracy. It's extremely important. But to pretend that there's no bias or that it's totally objective,
well, that's the first thing you learn in journalism, is that there is no such thing as no bias.
Right. But the way that journalism is done is that you kind of like,
They give the portrayal fair and balanced. Yeah,
right,
I mean,
right.
BBC fair and balanced or whatever, and they want to, you know, to give that portrayal or whatever. The thing is you know, you look at back at it, like, you know, with the Deep Throat and I mean, like, you know, the stars of journalists and whatnot. But
Woodward and Bernstein and the whole like 70s investigative. Yeah.
Like investigative journalism.
Yeah, journalism's were the heroes.
Became like it became the backseat of things, and every once in a while you would break something. Most folks were just like, I mean, and that's when you look at the business model of it, because you look at how like how centralized it is by ownership. I mean, like a very small number of large media groups own the majority of that. So you look at the business model of journalism. I mean, like, now it was easier back in the 70s, the 60s or whatever, when you had competing rags, and they were just like, as long as I could like print some paper and like, you know, I can get it out, and you had to like have that story. You had to go out and reach that. Now, like, the focus of a journalist once you get out of school is, I need you to a fluff piece or something that's going to get clicks.
Well, the problem is that it's no longer difficult to publish. Like that's the reason why like this whole Trump thing can happen, why all this stuff happens, because like I can just go on the internet and just type something up and just have my own blog.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, well, right, right, but because like it doesn't decrease the value of like things that have value. But it puts everything in a different light.
It's a saturated market.
Exactly. Yeah.
Heavily saturated.
Yeah. So like back in the day, like everyone didn't have the money to print a newspaper. Like you couldn't, you know, if you read a newspaper, it's like, wow, This is printed by someone who has the money and the determination to print something on this paper and distribute it to everybody, but or to put it on the television. Now it's like, well, I can just, boop-a-doop. There it is. That's an alternative fact. Yeah.
Now vaccines will fucking kill you.
And people view them all like if they read it
equal
as the same. It's
right.
not.
Yeah, media criticism is pretty. Well, I mean, this is a beefy ass topic.
Yeah, we can talk about this
for
for
a
long
long
time. Yeah.
But yeah, journalism, capital J.
What's the other thing? The glass.
Yeah. So basically, I was writing the newsletter. I was compiling, adding my voice, sending it out. And then I was like, there should be a local magazine that takes a look at Pittsburgh. It writes cultural pieces. It, shares writing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. It, maybe raises the bar a little bit in terms of, how we talk about Pittsburgh culture. And so that was the impetus behind the Glass Block. And also, I didn't want to hear my voice all the time because the newsletter is like me, my voice. So I connected with Dave Bernabo, who's a friend who I met. I sought him out for this project called the Glass Block, and we put together a Kickstarter, raised some money, launched a magazine, and have been publishing for a little while now. I've realized how much work it is to be an editor and publisher. It's a lot of work, and I'm splitting my time with the newsletter in the morning, the magazine, and I'm also getting involved politically in my personal life as well. So there's a lot going on, but I've been really proud of the stuff that the Glass Block has been putting out. There have been interesting pieces about Pittsburghese and linguistics. There have been we have a little bit of poetry. We've been able to highlight a bunch of art exhibitions and artists, and just basically like a cultural grab bag.
Where do people pick up the
It's
magazine?
a web magazine.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's theglassblock.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I now I will go and check it out because I have not.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on, and right now the Glass Block is me and Dave, and then with the Kickstarter, the writers and artists that we've been able to pay, because we pay for all of the contributions and all of the work,
which is so fucking dope.
Yeah,
I think the Kickstarter allowed us to do that. People gave us the money to start this thing, and then with their money, we've been able to pay artists.
There's because when you look at a lot of the the online rags that are, they cultivate, a lot of the writers don't get paid. They get the submission, and it's like, oh, you're doing it for exposure, and I could see how that has value as an artist. Like when I got into it, I just wanted to do things just to get exposure, but sometimes you got to pay your artists,
and eventually you have to start putting value on your own things where you're like, I'm not doing that for free. Like I'm good at this. I'm not gonna do it for free anymore.
Right. Yeah, but finding out how to fund,
right?
How to. I'm not the best at it. I'll be totally honest. I'm not a businessman. That's the thing. I suddenly found myself in this position where I was a small business owner. I had an LLC and a business bank account and all these. And I was like, ooh, I'll have to figure out how to be a small business owner. But it's been a really interesting experience. Would I like to have been something much grander and larger? Yeah, but I think I'm cursed by having great ideas, and then I think focus is the thing that I need more in my life, and just having great ideas and not being able to be behind 110%. Because if you're a small businessman, you have to eat, sleep, and breathe your small business.
Yeah, that's the idea thing, and that's a I think we can all relate. We can all relate.
You're 30.
What's that?
You're 30.
Am I 30?
You're 30 years old?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, no, man. I didn't get into this shit until I was 30. I spent my whole I spent 30 years fucking around and doing absolutely nothing with no focus and waking up in ditches. And then I had a 30th birthday party, and now I'm sitting here talking to a very established, well-bearded man. I think that it just comes with age or whatever.
Well, I think that the focus thing is that, especially for people who are creative, it can be difficult to take what you have, because it's easy. It's not easy to have ideas, but if you're an idea person, it's easy to have the ideas and then not capitalize on them. And it can be not lazy, but like to not know exactly what to do with them. And that's the hardest part, is to take your ideas and make them into something. And then
I think people just have different skills and different abilities and affinities, and some people are more business oriented. Like,
well,
the truth is, I'm terrible with money, right?
You have your partner or whatever, and like the thing that I've noticed is that any artist that you enjoy, any successful person you enjoy, like there's somebody else there. Like you have to build a team of some. There's very few ingenious artists that just fucking come up on their own.
Yeah.
Like, because...
You think that Prince was good with money?
Yeah, exactly. Like, Prince, he didn't fucking know what to do. All he wanted to do was fuck bitches and play a guitar.
He was like, I'm going to need you to manage my accounts. Because I don't know how to do that.
Exactly. Like, I mean, but that's the thing that, like, and it was, honestly, it was like kind of that age. Like, I was always a prideful person. I was like, I gotta do it myself. Like, I'm doing my stuff. I was working hard as fuck. Like, I had 3 jobs. Like, because I was working hard, I was like, I gotta do it myself, because that's how you do it. You do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where, like, people were like, look, like, a friend of mine, she said, the only time you ask for help is when, like, you absolutely need it. You use help to get back to where you were. You don't use help to take you to the next place. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, I mean, like, but that's the thing that, like, with age or whatever, like, I think they go. And then you look at, like you say, you're like, yeah, you're bad with this. I'm fucking terrible with a lot of shit. You know what I mean? But like, I have Epicast that fucking puts these podcasts together. Like, I have Ed that, like, he has like the interview type, questions or whatever. I'm on, like, and you build a team around it, whether it's personal, professional, whatever. I think that's just, once you realize that it's not you. You actually need other people, and you build something. What did Obama say? You didn't build this.
You got to recognize what your strengths are.
Yeah,
recognize what you need,
and accept that. The acceptance is the hardest part. Like to accept that, like, I fucking suck.
Oh yeah, I'm business for business. I'm the worst. Yeah. Like I run my own business, but I'm not bad at that. I'm not.
But we live in this world where it's like, to be a small business owner, to set out on your own, like there's a lot of glory in it. There's a lot of it's kind of the dream is to, like, the American dream is to, like,
because reality,
be your own man, be your own person, do your own thing. But it's really, really hard, and like the infrastructure is such that it's not really easy. You have to really sacrifice a lot, and you have to be able to have the support to rely on to make those sacrifices.
Well, the thing that nobody tells you whenever they talk about that sort of thing, they're like, "Oh yeah, no, I built myself up from." It's like, yeah, but every step of the way, the government's literally going to be like, "We're going to need all your money now." Yeah. I don't care what you're doing. All of your money right now.
We need parts.
We're gonna need at least half right now, and then the other half in a day.
Yeah, I did my taxes a little while ago, and I was like, man, I'm paying government a lot of money
for what?
And I don't make that much money, but the super rich are paying nothing in taxes.
Do you like that? You got to understand. Like, I grew up. Talbot Tires was a project building right next to a steel mill, and we used to go play on Braddock Beach, which was just an opening to this dirty river. And at some point in my life, I owed the government money on taxes. I was like, the fuck?
Right? Like, motherfucker, there's kids playing on a dirty ass beach beside a poison river. Where's my tax money going? And like, not to get into personal, but I didn't think I made enough to owe the government money. I was like, what?
Yeah, and then a company like Apple pays $0 in taxes.
$0,
right.
And they get subsidies,
because they do that multi-country thing that they do. I don't know how it works. I'm not a business person.
I mean, I didn't know them a bunch. But anything, when I got done with the TurboTax and it came with a negative like $8, I was like, nigga, how? How?
Oh, mine's always way more negative than that. Yeah. And I go back and I'm like, So which of these numbers were the ones that changed the number?
You know how many times I went through and tried to rework some shit? Like, maybe I should. I don't know. Maybe I'm not.
There's no paperwork for this one, so I'll just.
I'm sorry
delete
for
that.
anybody listening who has anxiety about taxes, because this conversation is triggering.
Yeah, definitely triggering that. Yeah. In fact, and don't do what we're telling you that we do. You shouldn't do that because you're going to get in trouble.
Oh, boy.
I said my real name on this podcast, too. That was bad.
Bad
call.
I'm not sure if I said it or not.
Shit, we definitely don't.
I had a whole ass question and I completely forgot it because it's the second cast. I don't think it was related to your beard.
Okay.
If you don't know Adam, I'm sure you'll probably get some pictures or whatever. He has a very luxurious beard.
He has a very nice beard. Yeah.
Hipsters.
The mustache is the strongest part of the beard.
Thank you.
Like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can grow a pretty strong mustache myself, but that's pretty strong.
So I really like the mustache only look.
Yes.
But the problem is that if I were to get rid of this, I don't know what is underneath. Like, I could have a couple chins
That's
that
why
I don't know about.
Every once in a while, I shave my face down to about here, and so I know what my face looks like just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what that's like. I never go full naked. I went full naked once, like
That's weird.
Probably about the same time that you got to Pittsburgh. Like, I mean, literally, it was like 2010. I went full naked, and I hadn't been naked since like maybe 2000. And like my lips are really like big and red and like pink. So it looks like I wear like, lipstick, and I got like eyelashes and brows or whatever. So I really just look like my mom.
You have beautiful features.
Like, but an ugly mom for like a version of me, and like everybody was like, holy, like it was like
like Rafiki from the Lion King.
yeah, it was like it was I was talking about fiance with her, like, and I showed her this, and this was like I did this maybe, like I said, 7-8 years ago. Me and her have been dating, like 4 or 5 years or whatever. And she was like, I wonder what you look like, and I was like, oh yeah, and I showed her. She was like, I don't know if I can sleep with you ever again. Like, that's how terrible. Like, and it really was. It was a monstrosity. My face is not a good one. But I mean, I can go down and I can be like, I can kind of gauge.
I mean, this
it
looks
with
fine. So I feel like this is totally.
Yeah. No, I think we've all got our facial projects.
Yeah,
down.
I go from here to like when it gets hotter,
right.
I'll go down to like the 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
I mean, but the 5 o'clock shadow still lends a little bit of distraction.
Well, see, what it does is you can create how your face actually like does. It might not look this way. You can, if you line this shit up right, it makes your face look way more chiseled than it might actually look. Yeah, if I shave this all the way down, you'll be like, oh, that's not the same one.
You never go full naked.
No. This is man makeup, is what this is.
So what has life been like now that like you've tapped into this scene? You've added your own social commentary on top of, like you're very well read. So like parties and social events and like walking around town, like, when you introduce yourself, do people like tense up if you're talking to, say, a politician or, the president of a water company, or, like, do they get a little tight? Or?
I mean, again, like, I'm not doing a lot of one-on-one journalism. I've conducted interviews for the Glass Block. I comment on.
But you have an influence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the thing is that like, because even though like you say, you keep coming back, I'm like, oh well, I'm not really, I'm just like, But the thing is that it's your voice. It's what you believe. Like I'm not going out there and searching down leads or whatever.
Right.
But like I tweet and people look and things that I say, they whatever. I'm influential, right?
Yeah.
You're very influential. I know people that are like, if I read it on Eat This, like I'm like, that's a thing that I can trust and move forward. So you have that influence. How has that influence changed your life? Your day to day.
It's interesting. I mean, there was a moment. I can't even remember the specific anecdote. This was a couple years ago, maybe now. But someone on social media was like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear what Adam's going to say about this tomorrow." And I was like, whoa, like, that's a lot of pressure. Like, I have opinions about stuff, and I'm proud of that. And that's kind of like my thing is like, oh, I have an opinion. But, I'm also just one dude, and you know, it's tough to be like. I'm very aware that when I hit send on my newsletter, that like, 5,000 plus people are going to be reading this.
Yeah, that's the
And,
pressure
like,
that you don't like. That's what I'm saying. 2010,
Right.
you didn't have that pressure. You
Right.
have that pressure now. Yeah, I mean, and every time you do that, like, so when you cultivate these things what is that like?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty confident in like what I believe and like what I know and how I analyze things. And, if I fuck up, like I hear about it, if I make a mistake, people email me. If I say something that really resonates, people email me. So there is that kind of that connection with the readership. Yeah, but it's been a really interesting thing. I have basically built this like day-to-day project out of just having an opinion and being a guy who reads a lot and who writes. And I feel really privileged. I feel, like really lucky to be able to, influence people and to like, do what I do and like make a little bit of money off of it and off of the work of journalists who are actually doing like really hard work. And I'm just kind of like at the very last stage of their job, I'm taking it and I'm being like, let me put a frame around it. And there you go. But at the same time, I'm not, I recognize that Eat That Read This is great because, some of these newspaper websites are terrible to navigate.
Oh yeah, or just terrible.
Well, yeah. So really it's about like giving people the right kind of way to ingest this information, and a lunchtime newsletter is just like, I think, a really nice way to get to people, because if you get an email in your inbox that like is quality, you're going to spend a little time with it. Whereas you go onto Twitter or you go into Facebook or whatever, and it's just like a fire hose shooting at your face of information constant. And it's hard to like pick out what you should know, because if you're late to the game, like, oh, you might have missed something. It's just like a torrent. And so the newsletter is kind of like, there's a beginning and there's an end, and it's a packaged thing.
Well, I mean, Dan Rather's just launched. Is it News and Guts, or what's the? But it's it's Dan Rather's or whatever. But it's the same. It's the same model of like, he's not, reporting with it. He's just like taking articles that he like, because in this age of fake, news, like actual fake news,
Right.
You do need somebody that is able to kind of like cultivate what is real for, and like, being a student of journalism, whatever, like I do that, but it's so exhausting. Yeah. I mean, it takes like what you do. It takes time to have to check resources and like have to like, go back. Like it does. So it is nice when you can find those few, like, I follow a bunch of people. I follow some people because I want to just know the left side, or I want to know the right side. And I just want to, and then there's a few people that like, if they tweet it, like, or if they like say it or whatever, I'm fairly confident that like, and it's nice to have that. I mean, honestly, it really is. As an educated person with only but so much time a day, it's nice to have that. And like Dan Rather's like launched this whole fucking thing about, like, and it's the same exact, it's on a national, worldwide scale or whatever, but it's still that same like when that pops up on my news feed, I'm going to give that a little bit more time. Yeah, I will still, check resources. I will still like, you never want to like believe any source whole out, but I'm going to give that a little bit more time than any fucking, other thing that might pop up or whatever.
When you find somebody who you trust to gather the things that you want to hear about, like I'm sure your newsletter, then you stay with it.
Yeah, I do the same thing in my own life with things that I'm not paying attention to.
Right.
That I have my friends or colleagues or whoever that I know if I want to find more about, local sports, like I'll ask my friend Kurt, right? Like I know who to turn to if I need that kind of informed opinion that I've invested my trust into. And I think people have done that with me. And I'm really happy to be able, to be that person. But it is a lot of pressure, and there is a lot of like, the newsletter has gone on. It'll be 3 years in June. It's changed a little bit. It's grown up a little bit. There was a time where it was a little more, maybe out for blood. It was a little more angry. I think it's maybe a little more sober these days, maybe a little less fun, if I'm being totally honest. But
you're 30. I love that transition because I went through it, and I'm not some wide elder because I still am very fucking ridiculous, and but it's just looking back at that whole thing, and seeing that Tupac was like, oh, there's no activists over 30. Nobody. And
it's like, motherfucker, you were 27 when you died. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, there's no but there is a sense of because you get to a certain age and comfort, and you're not able to give up as much or whatever. And I think that we're in an age now that we are able to actually be angry and be active, whatever. But even psychology, after 25, your brain starts to kind of settle down or whatever. You're not as impulsive, move forward, whatever. At 35, it's like 20, but I'm a bit more calm. I'm still fiery, but not stupid. I'm not as impulsive or whatever. And even some things that compromise is a huge thing. Where it's this is how it should be, versus this is what it really.
I still have really strong opinions, and I think that still comes through in the newsletter. I think at the end of the day, people want to know what's happening, and a lot of the time we can rely on news stories to give us that rundown, but sometimes it's not complete, and sometimes though we rely on the tradition of journalism to be objective and to hear to gather from all sides or whatever. I think especially now in the Trump era, American journalism is in this crisis where it's when someone's just straight up lying, how do you report and not be able to say this person is just lying? Because you have to be oh, well, they say this, but other people who disagree say this. You decide. And in my heart, it's no,
that's not a fact. That's nonsense. Don't listen to that.
Yeah, that's
stupid.
Not. You have to be. I don't believe there's such thing as a non-biased journalism.
Well, there's not even a belief. That's an actual fact. There's no such thing as a non-biased journalist.
Right, but we rely on institutions that are pretty much acting in that manner, right? And we need them to do that. We need an NPR. We need New York Times.
You want that, but that's going into it, when they were there's no such thing as bias, and then you see all this, that's the goal,
right?
But I think that the fault of it is that they don't news media doesn't portray themselves as biased. And when they say decide for yourself or whatever, you go, oh well, CNN is left wing and MSNBC and Fox is this and whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're mostly centrist. With some right wing.
They're all capitalist.
Yeah, we're all capitalists. Yeah, but the thing is that the average person believes that when they read a news article, it's from a very unbiased thing. And I think that's the fault of journalists and journalists in general, is the fact that they don't tell people on a regular basis, listen, I'm an actual person. When you're saying it, the things that you cultivate, when you're saying I'm just putting these things here for you, the things that you chose to put here while I'm eating lunch, that was you chose it. This was important.
Definitely.
That was a bias.
I leave some things out. I include other things.
That's a bias.
It's a biased choice, right?
Exactly. Even something as simple as choosing what to put in front of you is a bias. So it's crazy when I'm getting drunk.
I just had an idea. Okay, I'm gonna start a website called Robot News, and it's just you just decide what news you want. And then it just gives you one sentence about it, every news story in that category. It just says 3 people were killed when this thing happened. And that's it. There's no... It's wow, okay, so this thing happened, 3 people died. And that's all the words I got from that.
But there are stories that's the story, but then there's other journalism where it's really about your perspective on things.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, if all news was like that, it would be a much different a game where it's okay, this is the thing that happened, and and that's it. There's no.
But even then, you got to look at like what do you choose to tell in that story? There's a whole bombing in Yemen or whatever. Do you talk about the color of the car? Do you talk about
Well, I'm saying
who was
like,
eating lunch at that point? Because Angelina Jolie may have been touching down there shortly, and we want to know about what she's doing.
yeah.
Is she okay? What's it?
Well, I'm saying like that there are no details. It's just like the results of a thing that happened.
Yeah,
that's it. That's all that you get, and then then you can go out and find out. Like it's like, oh wait, there was like this Yemen thing happened. There was like Robot News said 7 people died in Yemen, and that's what it said. So I can go out and find out.
Yeah, you
myself.
can go that as a jumping off point.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like
if I want to know more.
Right. Do you want to know more?
But going back to trust, that's really the thing is like what entity do you trust to inform you?
Yeah.
And that's at the same time the problem with the 21st century where we have these echo chambers where people subscribe to what they want to hear. Everyone's news, we're no longer in that like Cronkite world where everyone's watching the same media and consuming the same thing. Everyone can pick out their own media and consume whatever they want to hear. And there's no way to like kind of check like, so you're watching Fox News all day. Did you know that that's 100% garbage?
And is it better or worse? Because like when everyone watched Cronkite, it's like, well, Cronkite wasn't unbiased. Like he has his own bias.
And there were still things that weren't being told. Or
exactly. Yeah. So like, is it better or worse now that you're like, okay, well, I can look at whatever I want.
Yeah, I think it's different. I wouldn't say it's better or worse.
Yeah,
different.
honestly,
it's just different.
Yeah, especially with as many people and access to everything. Personally, like get this last question and get out of here or whatever. But personally, how do you counteract your own bias?
Yeah.
Like, with do you try to throw in maybe news articles? Like when you read, because I would imagine that you're not posting everything that you read. Do you read news sources that you don't agree with? Do you try to add that into maybe a counterpoint in your news, in your roundups? How do you counteract your own bias?
The newsletter is basically all local news. The Tribune Review, it's like a right wing paper, right? Like Scaife was an ideologue of the right wing. There are some great journalists who work for the Trib who do like non-politicized reporting. So I'm not talking about like the hard news, like the robot news that you were talking about, because there's some great journalists doing that work. But yeah, like Colin McNichol, who was the opinion guy at the Trib for a long time, did not accept that climate change was a real thing, and he would publish columns in their editorial section about how climate change wasn't real. And it's like, so I would mention that and say like, oh, this guy hasn't
gone outside.
This is not accurate. Like, this is not true. So
it's not based in science.
This guy hasn't been in Pittsburgh in the winter in the last 4 years because it's not that cold.
Yeah, he didn't have a picnic on Saturday like I did. So, but your question was, how do I check my own bias? And it's like, is what I'm doing journalism? I'm not totally sure. It is journalistic. But
journalistish.
It's journalistic.
Well, it sounds like the similar like am I a good parent? It's like if you're asking that question, then you're doing an all right job at least.
I'm doing what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is I'm collecting. I'm kind of taking a snapshot of the day and what everyone's talking about, what the news stories are. There's almost sort of a meta kind of commentary that goes in the newsletter where it's like, the Trade reports this, BuzzFeed reports this. So there's kind of an awareness that, I'm not writing all of these articles. I'm framing them, for people to consume. But I have to say that historically, at least with my newsletter, the bias has been part of the package. Like, and when I say bias, I mean, someone who follows Eat That Read This knows that, I hold particular political positions, and
So you're very upfront with your.
Relatively, yeah. I don't hide anything, because I think that's dishonest. We are seeing we're seeing these growths of news outlets. One example would be like The Intercept. Which is, like Glenn Greenwald and Jeremy Scahill, Naomi Klein, people who, are largely of the left, who have criticisms for like, the national deep state, and, they're doing reporting that is actual like rigorous journalism, but they're doing reporting that what they choose to report on shows their political allegiance.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that's a journalism that we have to embrace, which is, it is impossible to be a total agnostic when it comes, especially in this like hyper polarized, when one person is telling a lie and the other person is telling the truth, it is irresponsible for journalism to put both of them side by side and say, oh, they're equally legitimate.
Yeah.
Because it is the
Choose for
job
yourself.
of journalists to point out what is a lie.
1 + 1 is 2.
Well,
1 + 1 is 3.
You're not writing.
You decide.
Like, you're not writing a novel. Like it's not a work of fiction. Like a journalist is supposed to be reporting something that is somewhat factual. So yeah absolutely, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. So what I'm doing, the person of me like is definitely present in the newsletter, and I'm aware of that. And I think the readers are aware of that too. I can't deny that. But at the same time, like, I also just want people to be informed and want them to read the news. And I did a survey a couple months ago and got a lot of really interesting feedback from my readers. And for a majority, a plurality, a huge chunk of my readers say that the newsletter is their primary source for finding out about local news stories.
That's awesome.
Which means that it's a good model. And I think, the Post-Gazette created their own newsletter after I made mine. So, I think the newsletter's a good model, and I think more outlets should do it. So.
I see you there.
You heard what it sounded like.
So where can they find you, sir?
Me?
Yeah. Well, whatever you do. Like,
Tell us
So
everything
eathatreadthis.com. Eat that, read this. Facebook, Twitter, theglassblock.com. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I live in Lawrenceville. I'm mostly wearing pajamas at home, or I'm like, taking my dogs for a walk.
People should definitely like look in windows until they find you.
Yeah.
If
peek through
you see a
windows.
bearded man in slippers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Find me on Pinterest.
I missed an opportunity. I still don't understand Pinterest at all.
No, I haven't even checked.
I don't know
God
what
damn it.
Pinterest
I'm not actually on Pinterest. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter.
I don't know.
But yeah, thanks for the people who are reading and all that. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. For
We
coming
thank you
on
for
the
coming.
show.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me as well.
Yeah. Jared, where can they find you?
grownuphumans.com, radicaltrivia.com. Come out to a trivia show and hang out and drink some beers, and I'll ask you some questions. You may or may not know them. Hopefully you don't feel too fucking stupid. Go out and do that. And that's about it for me, I guess.
Word. March 18th, benefit of Ed Bailey. March 24th, 25th, we have Farm to Table. And March 25th as well, we have Brouhaha. And if you're looking for us, you can find us on drinkingpartners.com/ oh, shit, there's no Drinking Partners. And epicastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, and Google Play under Drinking Partners. And you can find us on IG, Twitter, and Facebook at PartnersPod. And as always, Drinking Partners is a crew, Epicast is a family, and we're out.
And yeah, we're out. Go to drinkingpartners.com. It's probably something totally different. It's a thing. I gotta go back.
Epicast.